So today I'm going to show you how you can make your reading experience more enjoyable with these two items. Let me show you how. So for these two instances or these two items that I want to make, the material is pretty simple. For the book stand or the placeholder, I've basically got 3 pieces of wood. In my case, this is plywood, but obviously any type of solid wood or plywood that you have or prefer would do the work just fine, or would do the work perfectly. All 3 of these pieces are cut exactly the same size. Now, in my case, this is more or less what I've had. It was an off-cut piece with the width. I divided the length into 3, so it doesn't have to be an exact size, just more or less the size of what a book page would be, or maybe a bit smaller, a bit bigger, whatever your preferences may be. And then what I've done is both the sides, or the longer sides of these pieces of wood, I made a 60-degree cut on the side, both of them. Now this can be done with a table saw, a circular saw, or even if you've got a router bit, you can use that as well to get these 60-degree corners. And like you can see, once again, they are all 3 exactly the same size, the same angles, the same measurements. And so how do I put this together? Well, once the cuts are done and the 60-degree corners are cut, it is fairly simple to put together. So let me show you. I marked the corners here beforehand. The simple part how this is going to work is what you do is you take the corners like so, put one on top of the other one, and then like a sort of a continuous process or pattern, how they fit onto each other, with this side being on top of this side being on top of that one, and so forth. And because they are all 3 the same size, this would make a nice perfect triangle once they are stuck together like that. So how are we going to stick them together? Well, in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue between the sides, and then I'm going to use some painter's tape or masking tape to stick the sides together. In other words, I'm going to take some pieces and around the corners, put some tape on all 6 corners basically to hold it together until the glue dries. Optionally, you can use also a nail gun to put some nails into the corners, or even screws if you wish. But I'm only going to use some wood glue, and that should be sufficient. So first what I'm going to do is I need to focus on where I'm going to put the glue. So if I open these up, I know, for instance, that I need to put a nice layer of glue over here, because that's going to be on top of it. So this is going to be a pattern. If you have glued the one side, that pattern is to be just continued along all 3 sides, because this is going to be universal, and it's a complete triangle, or it's a complete regular triangle with all 3 sides and all 3 angles the same. So let's start by getting a piece of tape or 2 ready for the first sides that's going to be glued together. So for the first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape underneath this side, like so. 1 piece, 2 pieces like that. And since I know this side is going to go on top of that one, I'm going to put it on top nicely together like so. And I'm going to stick the tape up onto the side of it as well, looking like that. And if you leave it, you'll see that it's standing on its own by now, just held in place by the tape. Now obviously this is not going to be steady, we're going to put some more tape, but this is a good starting point. So let us get 4 more pieces of tape ready for the next 2 corners that I'm going to glue together, like so. So thereafter, this one is obviously going to go on top of the one at the bottom and against the one on top here, like so. And once we've got it in place, I'm once again going to take pieces of tape and tape these together in the correct manner, like that. Tape those together. And for the last corner, I'm going to pick this thing up, let it stand on its side like this. Some of the tape came a bit loose there, but that's fine. And to put tape on this corner as well. Keep it in place like so, along with that one. you'll see that it wants to keep coming apart, but we're going to fix that problem in a moment. This is just for the main assembly, just to keep it roughly in place. Now, once it's roughly in place like this, what you can do is you can take your painter's tape, start on one side, and we're going to completely wrap it around, holding the one corner tight while I'm putting the tape there across it, then holding the next corner tight together while I'm pulling the tape over that one as well, or pulling it around, just making sure that it stays in its correct place, and then finally coming around to the last side, the same side where I've started, pulling the tape around there, only going a bit past and blocking it off. And then we'll see that the triangle is about completely regular, like so. So once I've got the tape on the one side, I'm going to turn this triangle around, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, basically putting tape all around it so that it keeps the entire triangle or pyramid, if you want to call it that at this stage, in place so that the glue can dry. Now obviously if you've got a nail gun and at this stage you want to put in some nails or some tacks in the corners to keep it together, that is perfectly fine as well. So that is the way it looks now. Now obviously the next part of the conundrum, if you want to call it that, is that your angles or your 60-degree angles might not be cut perfectly, and that is completely fine, because that is going to be part of the next part of this video of when it dries, because you've got the glue in place, so it's holding it neatly together. This is a nice triangle, like you can see, like so, on both sides. So if you've got gaps in between anywhere, like see, there might be a few gaps over there, few gaps at the bottom there, that is fine at this stage, because once the glue is dry and this is held perfectly together, what we're going to do is, in my case, you can either use some wood glue mixed with the sawdust, the sawdust you've picked up from sawing these pieces of wood to size, mix them together, and we're going to fill up the gaps and thereafter sand it, or you can actually use wood filler as well. But for now, that is the way we're going to leave it. We're going to wait for this to dry. So once that one is, or while that one is busy drying, the next part or the next item, the manufacturing was just as simple. Now, this is the way it obviously came out, and this is obviously to use while reading the book to keep the book open. So what I've done, I've simply drilled a hole in a piece of, this is a piece of plank or piece of plywood, whichever you've got, and then through the middle of the circle I drew two lines, basically upright and from side to side. And then I've basically only drawn 4 big radiuses. Now you can do this with either a cake tin lid or anything of the sort, anything that's a big circle. Only measure the same distance from the center to this side and that side to get a nice distance. Mine is about 3 inches from the center to this side and center to that side, and then 1 inch from the middle and down, and from the middle and up. If you've got the 4 points, you only draw the radiuses through or from point to point, corner to corner to corner. And that is basically it. It's a very simple design. The size of the hole is depending on what is comfortable for your personal use. For me, my hole is 1.5 inches, because I do like some movement of my thumb. I don't want my thumb to feel too restricted while I'm reading. So once the design is drawn up here, and I started with drilling the hole in the middle. You can draw the design first if you want to as well. Thereafter, just cut the rest out with a jigsaw. And once it's cut out with a jigsaw, if you look carefully, you'll see that I have rounded over the inside of the hole and the outer corners with my round over bit in the router on the table over here. And once that is done, this basically has its shape. Okay, so the closest book I could grab here was a children's book, but that does not matter. You can then basically take this, put it in between the pages like so, where you want to hold it open. And if you look from the bottom, you'll see that it perfectly nicely holds the book in place, keeps the pages from waving around and so on, if there's a breeze or wood or anything, keeping it nice and open. And you see, as you read from the top or even from an angle, it's not in your way of the words as well. I'm not going to stain this at all, not either one of the two. I'm going to varnish them both, because of the possibility of the stain not always drying and maybe be able to come off on the pages of the book. So I'm going to varnish them, and then we're going to come back once it's dry and varnish and see what they look like. after the rustic effect, you'll see that this looks a lot more forgiving almost in terms of imperfections in the wood and everything. So all the gaps that were there, they were obviously sealed off with some wood glue and some sawdust mixed together, and just sanded a light bit beforehand, just to sand off the bulkiness of the wood glue and so on. And you can see that this hides more of the impurities or the imperfections in the hood very well. So that came out very well. I'm very happy with that. Obviously, I'm still going to varnish both pieces, and obviously that would be because of the burnt effect not being able to rub off on your book's pages. I didn't have to use any screws or nails at the joints either, because the wood glue was more than sufficient to hold this together. This is quite steady and sturdy, and it will handle the weight of a book more than sufficient enough. So all I need to do now is varnish this. So let's get round to doing that. Alright, so as the final result, you can see the stand all nice and varnished, nice and smooth on the inside and on the outside. This looks very nice on all sides. So I'm going to put that down, and once you've read a book or whatever, or something to a certain point, and you want to keep your place in the book, you can just put the book down like that. The same with the reading assistant or the thumb guard or whatever you want to call this thing to help hold your book in place. That is also varnished quite nicely now, and you can keep your pages, your book open in one space as well. Very convenient. And then in the middle of your book stand, you've got a little space. I don't have any reading glasses, but you can put, I've got some safety glasses. I'll put those there for example. You can put your reading glasses there, nice and safely out of the way, or whatever else you've got to go with this, whether it be a bookmark or whatever. You've got space in there to put things. So if you do like this project or these little items that I've built, and you would like to see more of them, be sure to like my video, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you do wish to support my channel, please have a look at the super thanks icon down below as well. So until next time, thank you very much, guys.